Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the Tuesday NBA slate. 3 more games for us to look at today. Let's go ahead and get started. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it for the like button, subscribe. If you haven't already, you can check out all the socials down below. Hit on FanDuel yesterday for NBA, missed on DraftKings. Jordan Poole went off once again, and the Warriors once again blew out the Nuggets. We also saw the Sixers blow out the Raptors once again. Hopefully these games stay a little bit closer so we can get some full minutes out of some of these guys, but let's go ahead and get started. At the point guard picks, we have Ja Morant, $9,800. He is probably a bit angry after that last game. He did get to the free throw line 20 times, which is just crazy. Didn't really make, was still fine with his other shots, 8 of 18. But overall, 49.5 fantasy points. Didn't have a great game fantasy-wise. Played 35 minutes. We could definitely see him get closer to like 38, 39 if they need him to play more and the game is close or if they're losing a bit. Trae Young got just shut down by the Miami Heat defense. I mean, one of his worst games of his life. 1 of 12 from the floor, 0 of 7, 6 turnovers, and they basically just had no shot right from the beginning. When Trae Young is not hitting his shots, the team just can't get anything going. A decent opportunity with the price tag coming down a little bit to take advantage, but he's not really done great against Miami all season, and I doubt they will let him, get some open shots off. I'd rather go down to like Booker and Chris Paul. We saw Chris Paul last game just go absolutely nuts. 12 of 16 from the floor, hit 4 threes. Still the point guard in terms of getting his teammates involved. 10 assists, 7 boards. Does everything out there. Good price tag, great matchup against the Pelicans at home. Booker looks good as well. I do like Chris Paul, just a guy that does you a little bit better in terms of the rebounding and assisting most times, and does play good minutes. And Booker also played over 40 minutes last game, so he does give you upside if you want to stack both of them. But if I just had to pick one, it would be Chris Paul. Have Kyle Lowry as just a value pick, $6,300. He only played 29 minutes, but was on pace to get a double-double if he had to play his normal minutes. Got 4 rebounds. Just a fine overall pick. The Miami Heat are almost fully healthy. Bam Adebayo is questionable, but I expect him to play in this one. Going further down here, we have Patrick Beverley. Played well, 27 minutes. Was dealing with some foul trouble, but he was a big part of their defensive game plan, as always with him, and did contribute with some other stats, rebounding, assisting. Has been filling up the stat sheet in that department, and overall, he's been pretty good fantasy-wise in terms of just getting you value. And they probably want to have him out there for defensive purposes whenever they can, when he's not in foul trouble. Other options for us down in the 4K range, not too much that looks that appealing. You have like Melton coming off the bench. I'll play his handful of minutes. You have Tyus Jones, 51, come off the bench. Now that the Grizzlies are all healthy, it's tough to really go with the bench pieces. Moving on to shooting guard, we have Booker at the top end. You have Edwards coming off of a awesome game for him in his playoff debut. Dropped 36, played 40 minutes. All around great production out of Edwards if you wanted to go back to him. And I like Brandon Ingram once again, just a guy that will have to keep pace up with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. He was having a pretty good game, and then he just couldn't hit shots later in the game. He'll finish with just 6 of 17 shooting, only 18 points. Expecting a bounce back. Him and McCollum got off to a terrible start shooting the ball. McCollum still finished poorly, 9 of 25. Both guys finished under 40%, and that's definitely going to have to change if they want to have any shot in this series. Going further down here, we have Desmond Bane, $6,400. He's going to play his minutes. Doesn't really do much in the other departments in terms of rebounding, assisting, but he can get hot from 3, and he was their best three-point shooter and one of the best in the league at almost 44%. You can also go down to Dylan Brooks, who's going to play good minutes as well. We know how competitive he is defensively. He'll get after it, and you can also hit some shots. He's a little bit streaky, but overall a pretty good fantasy pick. And then you have a couple of guys in the 3K range that might get some minutes here, like DeLon Wright, Devontae Graham, but they're not going to play much to really warrant any attention unless somebody's in foul trouble or somebody gets hurt. Moving on to small forward. Top end, you have Jimmy Butler. Played well. He didn't have to play much. 33 minutes. Lost like 4 or 5 minutes in what he would have played normally. But when they have like Lowry hitting shots, Bam there. Tyler Hero only had 6 points, so he even had a down game, but they still cruised to a victory. They do have a lot of options offensively. I don't mind getting to Dylan Brooks at $6,200. In the 4K range, I like DeAndre Hunter a bit. He played good minutes, 35 minutes. He was one of the few Hawks players who did shoot the ball well, 6 of 8 and 2 of 2 from distance. Price tag is just really reasonable on Hunter. Other options you have is the quadruple 1 king in Jay Crowder. Dropped 1-1-1-1 stat line. Didn't hit a field goal. Played 28 minutes. Maybe he wants to bounce back from that. And you also have like Kevin Huerter at 45 and Cam Johnson as other options to pick from. Herb Jones, he might lose some minutes. He's still playing good minutes, but he sometimes can lose minutes to like Larry Nance if he has a good game off the bench. And we saw McDaniels from the Timberwolves have a really good game off the bench, but still, I think you can also take a shot with his teammate Vanderbilt, who's only $3,900. Speaking of power forward, yeah, Butler at the top end, and then it drops off a bit to Jaren Jackson at 65. We'll see what they decide to do with John Collins. Maybe they decide to put him in the starting lineup today. If they do, that would be nice. Just get some more offensive boost, and maybe they want to play him. I doubt they'll take a Kongu out, but that's something they might want to do at times in the game, is play Collins at the 5 with Gallo at the 4, and really just maximize their offensive arsenal. 4K range, you have Larry Nance, who continues to play well for the team at 44 coming off the bench. Brendan Clark was one of the few bench pieces that you can kind of count on. He's just a good rebounder. He played a lot better than Steven Adams last game, and he does give you a lot of upside for his cheap price tag. And then I look to like Vanderbilt at 39, just a guy that will play anywhere from like 14, 15 minutes to like high 20s, low 30. And that's basically it at power forward. Moving on to center, we saw Cat have a decent game, 52 fantasy points, played 43 minutes, so bounced back nicely after that game against the Clippers where he fouled out and only had 11 points. You can also go down to Valanciunas, who dropped 25 boards. He absolutely dominated the glass against Ayton. He even shot terribly, so definitely had some room to have a much better game than he did, but still not going to complain with 55 fantasy points there. And then you can go down to Ayton, who might get a little bit less ownership if everybody's going up to Valanciunas. He's still going to play good minutes. He played 34 minutes, 4 fouls, just missed out on a double-double, even hit a 3. So I don't mind getting to Ayton if everybody's going to go up to Valanciunas for 300 more. Just get yourself a little bit different. And he's at home, so it's not like it's a bad spot for targeting Ayton. And these Suns, they should win the game, and they should be they should score more points and be heavily favored, which they are by 9.5. Value-wise at center, we don't have much I'm looking at. Hayes is losing minutes to Larry Nance, so it's tough to trust him. And then maybe Jaren Jackson will be like the last guy I mentioned. Over at the guard position, in the mid-range here, you have Kyle Lowry, a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Want to get to at least one Miami Heat player, and don't mind getting to Lowry just because, the ball in his hands gets you some assists. He has been shooting the ball well recently. Doesn't take a lot of shots, but the shots that he does take, he has been hitting, making 60+% of his shots it's only been 2 games, but recently he's been shooting the ball well, as you can tell. Gets you assists. Overall, safe fantasy pick, I'd say, with upside. So leaves us with almost 5,400 left for the last few spots. The last piece I'll go ahead and put in here will be another value guard, and that'll be Pat Bev at 56. He lost some minutes. Should be on John Morant from the whole game. He could be in foul trouble like he was again last game, but do like what he's been doing. Just plays with a lot of emotion, and he will get his teammates involved a bit with the assisting. Gets you some rebounds, some defensive stats with steals. Will always be nice, and he hasn't been terrible shooting. Did have that dagger 3 at the end of the game, but overall, you don't need him to score much if he's going to contribute in the other categories, but at least 9 to 10 to 11 points would be nice. So that's about it for the DraftKings side. Let's take a look at FanDuel. All right, over on FanDuel here, point guard picks. They did price up these guys all the way up. So Chris Paul is up to 96. He still looks like a good option just with all the minutes that he'll play and the upside that he gives you. But definitely a lot different of a story than his price tag over on DraftKings. You can get up to John Morant for $100 more. So I think definitely that's something some people will do. Other option would be value-wise. You have McCollum, 84, Russell, 73. Lowry's priced up a little bit, but still looks fine at 7K. And then your one value piece is kind of Pat Bev. Nobody below him looks that appealing in terms of getting you 6x, 7x, 8x upside. Over at shooting guard, don't mind getting to McCollum at 84. Good price tag. Will play huge minutes. Going to take like 25 plus shots. He took 25 shots. Only made under 40%, like 35% last game. Definitely a lot of room for improvement there. So I don't mind getting to McCollum. Another guy could be one of these Grizzlies pieces here. Both Bane and Brooks are nicely priced. Don't think you can go wrong with either one. Maybe you want to put in both, but at least one of them I'll definitely have some interest in. Right now I put in Bane, and then we saw Duncan Robinson have like 27 points, 9 threes, I believe, last game for him. Gives you upside, but he's a bit hit or miss. So over at small forward, I do like getting to Ingram once again at 77. Think he'll bounce back and have a much better shooting game. Other guy would be Butler. Edwards is kind of priced out of my range on FanDuel, at least at 93. They priced up Larry Nance, so I'd rather get down to Dylan Brooks cheaper, Bridges cheaper, even get down to these Hawks players like Hunter at 45. Looks like a pretty good bargain. You can get up to Herter or Gallo. And then going further down, you have Jay Crowder. You can take a shot if you make a bunch of teams, or take a shot on Cam Johnson. Power forward, don't mind paying down at this position here. If Collins is starting, then he looks good at 61. Other options would definitely be Hunter at 45, and then you can take a shot with Vanderbilt at 4,000, and then you can also take a shot with Brandon Clark at 49. I'll put in Hunter, just a guy that was going to play mid-30s in minutes, most likely for the game. Is even with that in a not close game last time, he still played good minutes. So depending on how he's playing, he's going to get the minutes. Even if he's playing poorly, still expecting him to play over 30. And then last but not least, over at center, you have a couple of guys to pick from at the top end. Cat, Valanciunas, and Ayton are going to be the three clear-cut ones. Bam dealing with a bit of an injury, but still is in the mix. Once again, like I mentioned, I'm going with Ayton on both sides. I think you can go with Valanciunas if you want to go more with the higher owned pick, but if you want to be a bit different, take a shot on Ayton. Other options would be like Jaren Jackson, 66, or go down to Collins if he's starting at 61, or you can take a shot with like Steven Adams all the way down to 46. But that's about it for the video. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all next time.